things, at least two things at the same time. One action or one item that you are doing will be sacrificed, right? So you don't do it at the same time. You do it one after another. Why do we need to understand that, Iris? Alam na namin yan. So why do we need to know that? One is because there is really power when it comes to communication. Okay. And plus, when you're a trainer, the goal of a trainer is to convey messages, convey information and knowledge. So if you don't have that communication skills, how can you
Mm-mm.
share it, right? Regardless if you know everything, all everything is inside your brain, but you don't know how to relay it. Just gonna be there, right? And you becoming a trainer will not be as effective as expected. Now, when you're talking to customers through emails, it's more effort compared to, face to face. Why? Because there's visuals, there is also the listening part. You can hear the words, the tone, the body language is also there. Compared to emails or chat, it's just plain text. Therefore, you have to be very careful with the punctuation marks, where you put the commas, well, exclamation points. Do we even use exclamation point? Because the connotation of exclamation point is that either you have extreme emotions, either you're angry or too happy. Okay, people might start questioning, why is there a question mark or an exclamation point there. So we have to be really, really careful when it comes to using those marks. And of course, grammar. Okay. It's not about who's good and who's not good when it comes to speaking or writing in English. What matters is that we're using the globally accepted standards when it comes to writing and when it comes to speaking. And that's what we're talking about, the grammar part and, of course, our punctuation marks. Okay. My always take is that we're the better person, we know better, so we use the better approach, which is the standardized. Okay, so there. Now, when we talk about the power communication, what do we create or what do we get if we have good communication? You see, their number one is the relationship. If you have good communication skills, obviously there's understanding. Okay, if there's understanding, there's what you call the same level of understanding, right? So if you have that level, if you see eye to eye, then eventually relationship will form. If we're talking about colleagues, let's say for Jean, for example, even people don't want to, they want to stop listening to you now. Okay. But the fact that you're able to communicate regardless, okay, you still have that mark na, Jean, he loves talking. That's already a good relationship. You've already created a trademark, right? Okay, so that's one. Number two, the power of communication allows you to create the value. Value to what? For yourself, right? When you communicate, meron ka ng how do you call it in Tagalog? Pinagkakakilanlan. So you now have your trademark as somebody who can be thrown at any cage for that matter and do the stuff when it comes to communication, right? The power communication also allows you to elevate the customer experience. Why? Siyempre, if you guys talk great, you communicate wonderfully, and you're using standards, customers will always look for you. Okay? So very important. Hindi naman yung hi, hello lang. Hindi mo pwede, right? True. So you have to create that as well. Now, combine all three is equivalent to success. So if you have that skill and you feel that this is something that would allow you to become successful, enhance it, right? So the power communication gives you that satisfactory feeling of being successful. Okay. At the same time, you get loyalty. You get loyalty from friends, colleagues. Ikaw na yung laging, hala, boring, wala si Jean. Hala, boring, wala si Charmaine. Kasi wala yung ating communicator. You know? You get that people will always look for you. People will always find it a dull moment if you're not there. And it's because of your communication skill. Okay, so that's how important communication skill is. Aside from loyalty, there is what we call trustworthy or trust. Okay, now let's talk about a couple more things about importance. Okay, 5 C's of communication. So when we communicate, we remember these 5 C's here. Number one, it has to be clear. Okay, when you communicate, why do you have to be clear? So when we talk about clarity, it's the actual meaning. It has to be clear, regardless if we're talking about the message pa. Siyempre, kailangan clear a message, right? How it is said, it has to be clear as well. So let's see. Let's talk about concreteness. The words or the message has to have an impact. Kaya ko siya in-associate sa hollow box. So it has to be solid na may reference, right? So you don't just give out nonsense or you don't just say out things that are nonsense. It has to be concrete. Talk about cohesiveness. What do we mean by cohesiveness? Okay, partly it's the jargons there, the abbreviations, the acronyms. And in line with that, we go straight to conciseness. When we talk about conciseness, this is where we have this culture now. We don't go straight to the point. Pinoys are very we beat around the bush every time. There's always flowery words. So conciseness would be a very good characteristic for us to become a very good communicator. Why? It has to be direct. Another term that I would associate with conciseness is when you're talking, you have to be assertive. Okay, assertive means very direct to the point, no flowery words. Okay, I'll give you an example. Pinoys, they don't, but they're scared of answering no, right? Instead of saying no, explanation muna, right? So let's say the customer says, "Oh, can you return or refund a certain amount?" Okay, instead of answering either a yes or a no, because it is a closed-ended question, Pinoys would normally answer first with, kasi ma'am, ganito, ganito, ganyan, ganito. So at the end of the sentence, is it a yes or a no? Based on your explanation. Okay? So when we want to be concise when it comes to communication, if there's a question, you answer the question first. And if there's a need to defend it or explain, then you explain. Okay? That way, we save your time, we save my time, we move on. Right? We get to the next person that we need to talk to. Okay, so we'll try to change that culture by starting it with ourselves. So if the answer is yes or no, just choose yes or no. Explanation needed, then explain. If it's not needed, then don't. Okay, that's being concise. And last C is very self-explanatory when we say complete. The messages has to be complete. All right, then let's go to discussing the types of communication. Technically, it is just 3. Okay. There's one added there, which is the visual, which is what we have now. And it's the trending, and it's because of the technology. Okay. So obviously, verbal communication is talking, right? When we talk about nonverbal nonverbal, it's the actions that we use. It can include body language, gestures. You also have your facial expressions when you talk. Okay. Written, obviously, you had to write things. What written communication do we have now in the workplace? Email is a number one. Number two, probably a memorandum. Okay, like announcements in the office. Number three, reports. Number four, probably are your 201 files of the employees. Like if you're a leader, you get to document whatever it is that this your subordinate is doing, like performance or say violation. So those are written documents, right? Ano yung visual? What is visual today? Visual, because of the technology that we have now, the upgrades in technology, visual is now included. especially with training, right? When we talk about visual or visual type of communication, self-paced training, that was under visual, right? It doesn't need anybody to talk to or to talk. It doesn't. But when we talk about visual, okay, it still should cover the types of learners that we have. The kinesthetic, auditory, and the visual. Ba sinasabi ko? Okay? So when we talk about visual, I'll give you this PowerPoint. You play it on your own or it will play on its own. There are subtitles at the bottom. It can be interactive because of quizzes, so those are what we call visual. That's how we communicate now. What else? What other visuals do we have? As an example would be the commercials today, like on Facebook, right? Mga AI created na mga visuals natin, it's used to communicate now. What's scary about visual is that yung mga self-image ko, but it's not me that's doing the advertising or the marketing. Okay, so that can be used as or tagged as under visual type of communication. All right, so welcome to your communication style. And now we'll try to give justice as to why do you guys think you guys communicate that way. Okay, so here is the LGP or our communication style. You have counselors here, the green one. You have the coaches, the blue one. You have advisor, the yellow, and the driver. Let's discuss one by one. Counselors. The counselors are the pinakamababait na nilalang sa balat ng lupa. Nax! Why are you considered that? Because you're very supportive, very accepting. You do not not really like, but you try to avoid conflict hanggat maaari. You're interested in other people and how they think or feel about something. Okay. You're also focused more on process and people and often indecisive. A lot of the counselors or people with the profile of counselors, they're like that. Okay. And the reason that you guys are very indecisive is because you always weigh things. So those are our counselors, right? Okay. Now, the reason that they're like that, you notice ang manner of communicating of counselors, they're very warm, they're very accommodating, yung tone nila very accommodating. Minsan kahit ayaw na nila na i-accommodate ka, they still sound accommodating. So that's how counselors are and that's how you guys communicate. And you're the takbuhan ng bayan. You have that, you exude that vibe that people, anybody can actually run to you. Right, so those are our counselors. Now, let's go to drivers are actually very forceful, decisive, competitive, and goal-oriented. So, you guys take logical risks. You call it the calculated risk. Kayo yung tipo ng tao na when you plan, and the reason that you plan is because you're goal-oriented nga, diba? So you plan, and at the end of the planning stage, you feel like it's not gonna be feasible, you don't push anymore. Okay? So yan ang ating mga driver. You easily get frustrated. Okay? Now, when it comes to frustration, you easily get frustrated because of the planning, the strategic planning attribute that you have. Punta tayo sa advisor. The advisors are the perfectionist naman. Okay, bakit? Because everything is all about data. Okay, data-driven ang mga advisors natin. Fact-based palagi. So they always think na tama kami because everything is based on facts. Now, sila yung tipo ng tao na you cannot just, make them agree in changing things unless proven. Unless you have the documents stating otherwise. Yan. They're also very slow to decide. Bakit? Kasi nga, very cautious sila eh. Hindi sila yung, wala sila yung impulsiveness ng mga coaches. Coaches kasi parang, sige, tara, let's do this. Go, carry. No, advisors, they would always refer to bakit. Why do we need to do that? Why are you implementing this? They always need to see something prior to deciding. Sila yung tipo ng tao na kapag in-email mo today, bukas pa ang reply. Yan. Kasi nga, they're very fact-based. Tapos isa lang yung question mo sa email, ang isasagot sa'yo yung napakahaba, yung mga tipong one bond paper ang sagot. Kasi nga may mga reference na kasama. So yan ang ating mga advisors. Let's go to coaches. Coaches are very much preferring gut feeling over facts and data. Risk taker ang ating mga coaches. Okay? They always look for something exciting. Yan. So, impulsive when it comes to basically everything. And sila yung mga coaches, sila yung mga kahit saang cage mo itapon, mabubuhay and they will survive. So, yun ang mga coaches. Okay. Now that we understand yung personality nyo, okay, let's try to associate that with how you communicate. So let's talk about coaches. The fact that you're very exciting, very enthusiastic, very spontaneous, kayo yung tipo ng tao na when you communicate, you say whatever it is that is on your head. Okay? Minsan walang filter.
Right.
Basta we let it all out. Okay? Madalas actually walang filter.
Yes.
Nababansagan tayo na tactless because of that. Okay, but what they don't understand is that the goal naman kasi is to help. And so being a coach then is very spontaneous. So I find ways on how I can make my trainees understand. Hindi lang isang way yan. So if I say it this way kanina, expect mo. The next time I explain it, it's a different way na. That's how I am as a a coach communicator. There. Balikan natin ang mga advisors dahil nga very data-driven, right? So they document basically everything. Hanggat kayang i-document, they will document because that's how they live. Okay, that's how they communicate with other people. They don't rush themselves. They take their time. So when you talk to them, parang ang feeling ako as a coach, feeling ko parang ano sabihin mo? Sabihin mo na ang tagal. Yan, ganun ako. Right? But then, like I said, sa inyo, pag tinuro ko na itong communication style sa inyo, your responsibility, your accountability as a communicator, medyo matitest talaga. Okay? One, kayo lang ang may alam nito. Unless they went training or they underwent training with me. Okay? Kung alam nila yan, then you can start implying. Na, alam mo naman pala to bakit hindi mo naiintindihan? Kayo nakakaalam, kayo ngayon ang mag-adjust. Adjustments more are on you, not on the people around you. Okay? Yan. Drivers. The fact that they're very forceful, pag sinabi ng mga drivers now, they mean now. At pag sinabing end of business day, mamaya po yung 5:00 or kung ano man ang end ng business day ng kumpanya nyo. It's not tomorrow. Okay? Yan ang mga drivers natin. So, drivers, you'd feel that they're very, how do you say this? Kapag nag-utos sila, parang ang dating end of the world na kapag hindi mo nagawa. That's how they are when they communicate deadlines, when they communicate rush things. Okay? And the feeling is like, parang, ano na? Ngayon na? Bakit? Ganun. Ganun yung dating ng mga drivers when giving out instructions. Okay? Okay, so far, if I'm gonna go back to this one, one of the two deadliest combination is itong baba, yung ating advisor at saka driver. Bakit? Kasi forceful na sila, sabayan mo pa ng documents lahat. Paano ka pa makapag-argue sa isang ganyang klase ng tao? Right? Another very competitive combination is yung coach and driver. Bakit? Sa coach alone pa lang you already speak your mind out. Dagdagan mo pa ng competitiveness mo as a driver. People will tend to stay away from you. Ayawan ka ng mga tao because they feel like you know everything. Okay, you're a good communicator. Diyan pumapasok yung pagiging coach mo. And then when you communicate, you make sure that people try to understand that, and that's the driver in you. Okay, so that's the purpose of our communication styles.